Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Nigel Farage has spoken to thousands of Republican supporters at a rally for Donald Trump. The outgoing UKIP leader said he wouldn't tell American people how to vote, but he stressed the party could beat the pollsters in the race for the next US president. Our chief correspondent Gavin Hewitt was watching.
Mississippi is now Donald Trump country!
Mississippi, the American South. Donald Trump trying to fire up his controversial campaign. His theme, to the surprise of some, the lessons of Brexit.
I am going to invite onto the stage the man behind Brexit and a man who led brilliantly the United Kingdom Independence Party, Mr. Nigel Farage.
Donald Trump didn't quite know where to find Nigel Farage, but the former UKIP leader said he came with a message of hope that little people could take back control of their destiny.
And we did it. We made June the 23rd our Independence Day when we smashed the establishment.
Nigel Farage didn't explicitly endorse Donald Trump, but he was dismissive of his opponent.
But I will say this, if I was an American citizen, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if you paid me.
So how does Nigel Farage being here help the campaign of Donald Trump? Well, the Trump campaign want their TV audiences to see their candidate not as extreme or divisive, but part of a much wider anti-establishment movement.
Then it was back to the political roughhouse.
Hillary Clinton is a bigot.
And afterwards, the verdict on Nigel Farage, many here believed they were in the same fight as Britain.
We love him. He's wonderful. He's an inspiration to us. And we want to do the same thing. We want to take our country back, just like y'all did.
And as for Nigel Farage,
are you comfortable in being seen as an ally on stage with Donald Trump, shaking his hand?
Well, look, you know, there was nothing tonight in that speech that he gave that I don't think by anybody could be construed as extremist or unpleasant.
Nigel Farage left, his moment in American politics over, but he stepped into a fierce political battle with Hillary Clinton today denouncing the Trump campaign as linked to America's far right. Gavin Hewitt, BBC News, Jackson, Mississippi.
An intervention by Nigel Farage into the American presidential race last night appeared to pass off relatively smoothly after he shared a stage with Donald Trump at a rally in the United States. But his appearance, or in fact what he had to say about Mr. Trump's rival Hillary Clinton, has provoked her into a furious attack on the former UKIP leader this evening. She accused him of pushing anti-immigrant views to win the EU referendum and linked him to the extreme nationalism of Russia's President Putin.
Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage may have been welcomed last night with open arms by Donald Trump himself, but his visit has tonight come under attack from Hillary Clinton. In a campaign speech to her party faithful, she slammed Nigel Farage, the man and the message.
Just yesterday, one of Britain's most prominent right-wing leaders, a man named Nigel Farage, who stoked anti-immigrant sentiments to win the referendum to have Britain leave the European Union, campaigned with Donald Trump in Mississippi. Farage has called for a bar on the children of legal immigrants from public schools and health services, has said women are, and I quote, worth less than men, and supports scrapping laws that prevent employers from discriminating based on race. That's who Donald Trump wants by his side when he is addressing an audience of American voters. And the grand godfather of this global brand of extreme nationalism is Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Thank you very much.
Her attack comes just hours after he wowed a Republican rally in Mississippi.
We made June the 23rd our Independence Day when we smashed the establishment.
Billed as Mr. Brexit, he was the first to attack Mrs. Clinton.
If I was an American citizen, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if you paid me. In fact, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if she paid me.
He was no walk-on act last night, his politics personally endorsed by Mr. Trump.
The multinational banks, the media celebrities, the big donors tried to scare the British people. The same thing is happening right here in the United States.
And the crowds loved him. But should he be interfering in American affairs?
I've seen some of the things that he said earlier in the campaign. I thought, you know, I really looked very sideways at some of those comments.
Which one?
The ones directed at women and some of the sort of total blanket comments that we saw about Muslim people, for example. But there was nothing he said tonight that people could find to be offensive in any way at all.
This is an American election. Should you be getting involved in American politics like this? You say it wasn't an endorsement, but
No.
it sounded like one to me.
Oh, well, I wouldn't want to tell people what to do. After all, I condemned Obama for coming and talking down to us and telling us we had to remain. I was a little bit surprised how enthusiastic Team Trump were to get me involved. It's not going to happen again.
Mr. Farage may say this will not happen again, but once may be enough for a man whose entrance into American politics has only served to make the election here more divisive. Penny Marshall, News at 10, Jackson, Mississippi.
And I'm joined here by our political correspondent, Libby Wiener. Libby, there are, you know, mostly American politicians don't even seem to know who our Prime Minister is. And here's Nigel Farage having really quite an impact. I imagine he's going to be very happy with that tonight.
Well, he's put out a statement which suggests he's actually very cross about what Hillary Clinton had to say. He said, I think Hillary Clinton is running scared. Her attacks on me are completely baseless. And he goes on, she sounds rather like Bob Geldof and can't accept Brexit. But I think you're right. In reality, he's probably extremely flattered. Not only has he been invited to speak at this Trump rally, but then the other main contender to be the next president of the United States, Hillary Clinton, lays into him, attacks him in an extraordinary manner, the language that she used. You'd think that she had enough on her plate dealing with Donald Trump rather than bringing Nigel Farage into it. But he is quite a phenomenon. After all, you have to remember that he has never been elected as an MP, but arguably has had more effect on British politics in the last year than anyone who has been elected to Parliament. Here we see him in the United States. He's not an American citizen, and he does seem to be having an impact on the presidential election there. I think it is because he is a populist leader, and he does seem to have a common touch, which Trump clearly thought would be an asset to him. But the things that he said about Hillary Clinton, saying that he wouldn't vote for her even if he was paid to, I think seem to have got under her skin.
OK, Libby, thank you very much indeed.
They are perhaps natural transatlantic soulmates. Donald Trump even tweeted recently that he could become known as Mr. Brexit. But last night he played host to a man with a better claim to the title, Nigel Farage. The former UKIP leader told a rally of Trump supporters that they too could beat the establishment if they went out and worked for it. Our Washington correspondent Kylie Morris joins us now. Does Donald Trump really need Nigel Farage?
Well, I think, Chris, we're getting to the point where all support is welcome. I know it's not very Brexit to talk about polls, but the New York Times today said that Hillary Clinton has an 88% chance of winning this election. A lot can change, of course, between now and November, but the Trump campaign has had a really awful month. Nigel Farage is by no means a household name in America. I'm not sure this will make a massive difference to a swing voter in Ohio, but it may well entice a Republican donor to believe that victory might be possible for Donald Trump and to dig deep. And I think that was what was meant to be on display in Mississippi last night. Nigel Farage's winning ways, the success of the Leave campaign. It was meant to inspire, I think. And this is the way that Nigel Farage sold his message last night.
Folks, the message is clear. The parallels are there. There are millions of ordinary Americans who've been let down, who've had a bad time, who feel the political class in Washington are detached from them. They feel people aren't standing up for them, and they've actually, in many cases, given up on the whole electoral process. And I think that you have a fantastic opportunity here.
Now, the reason why Donald Trump held this campaign, we think, in Jackson, Mississippi last night was to try and continue this outreach to African-American voters. Again, talking about polls, currently he's polling less than 1% nationally with African-American voters. For that reason, he's speaking in a majority, he was speaking in a majority African-American town. But of course, he did take up Nigel Farage's themes. He talked about the common issues, the choices facing the American people, and as well reminded everyone, of course, that polls aren't always right.
The issues we face here in America are similar to the issues faced in Britain during their referendum on membership in the European Union. This is the movement known as Brexit. On June 23rd, the people of Britain voted to declare their independence, which is what we're looking to do also, folks.
So is he flip-flopping on immigration?
Well, yeah, it's kind of ironic that Nigel Farage was on stage with Donald Trump at a time, or even getting on the Trump train at a time when Donald Trump seemed to be softening his position on immigration. No longer is the talk of mass deportations. Instead, the issue seems to be, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, that as long as you don't have a criminal record, you can and you pay your back taxes, you might be able to stay. It's all very unclear. Really, he needs to reach out to people who found his extreme views unpalatable, so he's softening his stance, but he's not making anything particularly clear. I think it's a sliding scale currently, his immigration policy, and we'll have to see what is kind of cemented in the next few weeks.
Thanks, Kylie.
I've been getting away with it all.